Now imagine this. You've settled in a new country for many years. It's a place that even feels like home. But now, the government is trying to kick you out. That's the situation facing nearly 200,000 Zimbabweans in South Africa who were granted residency in 2008. Now, in a case that could decide their fate, human rights groups have asked the court to stop the government from doing so. But the clock is ticking as residence permits will expire at the end of June. DW's Christine Mhundwa met a teacher in Johannesburg who's hoping to remain in South Africa.
Far from his home in Zimbabwe, Ben Matsanure is contemplating the future. His life in South Africa might soon be coming to an end. He's been earning a living in Johannesburg, teaching and waiting tables.
A typical day for me, go to work, to go to school in the morning, and then later go to the restaurant. Because at the school I'm not earning much, so I have to run around and make some more money. The family is reliant on my earnings this side. 2 children and the wife and other relatives. They look forward to what I send to them.
Matsanure can live and work legally in South Africa because he has a Zimbabwean exemption permit. These permits were offered to Zimbabweans who had been living in South Africa undocumented, and those who were seeking asylum after Zimbabwe's violent election in 2008. Now, after 12 years, the South African government is cancelling the permits, and permit holders have been told to apply for work visas. But these will only be given to applicants with critical skills. Like the majority of permit holders, Matsanure's work is not considered to be critical. Over the border in Bulawayo, his wife and 2 daughters worry about him having to return to Zimbabwe.
It stresses me a lot because I just don't know. I don't know how we'll make ends meet having him decide. With what I'm earning, I cannot sustain the family. I want to afford to pay for our children's fees and their needs.
That coming back to them is really a life-changing thing. It means that I'll have to drop out of college. I've already started college and I'm about to finish. So if he comes back to them, that means I have to drop out of college.
Living standards in Zimbabwe have been in decline since the early 2000s. Today, about half of the population is reported to be living in poverty. Zimbabweans have migrated to neighboring countries in big numbers. Many have come to South Africa. And there's a growing anti-immigrant sentiment in South Africa that has at times escalated to violent attacks on foreign nationals. Some have suggested that the government is pandering to this populism in taking the decision to end the Zimbabwe exemption permits. But the authorities have maintained that these permits were always a temporary arrangement and never a pathway to citizenship or permanent residence. Rights groups have asked a court to stop the government from cancelling the permits.
There was no public consultation with the stakeholders prior to the decision being made to terminate the permits. If you have enabled people to found families, found lives here and careers, that you give them that fair opportunity to make representations so that you understand the circumstances of their lives and what they face when you make the decision to terminate. And that is absent in terms of the decision that has been made by the South African government here.
Ben Matsanure hopes the court will rule in favour of the appeal. He doesn't want to go back to Zimbabwe.
So how do I just suddenly stop here and go back there and start again? I'm finding it very difficult. I'd rather go somewhere else.
If the court rejects the appeal, Ben Matsanure and other Zimbabwean exemption permit holders have until the end of June to leave South Africa.
Just so you know, we reached out to South Africa's Ministry for Home Affairs for comment, but they did not respond to our requests. The court case goes ahead next week, and one of the legal practitioners representing some of the Zimbabweans affected is Simba Chitando, a Zimbabwean lawyer based in South Africa. He told me why he thinks he can win the case.
Our argument is that when people have been in the country residing lawfully, these are not illegal immigrants, these are not refugees, these are people that have lawful rights in the country for the past 12 years. That is no longer a temporary arrangement. It is a situation where the vast majority of these people have given almost 2 decades of their most productive lives. They are definitely permanently in the country. And they have got roots in the country. They've got either bonds, homes, and that they're paying for. They've got financial arrangements. They've got children in the country. They've got they contribute to the fiscus of the country and the gross domestic product of the country. So they are definitely permanently in the country without a doubt.
Okay, but here's the thing: who decides whether they should be there permanently or temporarily? Is that not the government?
The law. The government applies the legislation. So in this matter, the law says after 5 years, any foreign national who has lawfully lived in South Africa should be allowed to apply for permanent residency in the country. And that is what we will be arguing. Well, at least I will be arguing that in court on Tuesday next week, on the 11th of April. The law says after 5 years, Zimbabwean nationals, all the ZEP holders that I'm representing, have a right to apply for permanent residency. And the government can only deny their application if they have committed a crime, if they have in any way violated their stay in the country prior to the application for permanent residency. And none of that has been alleged. What has actually happened is that the government has decided that, look, we have made a decision for you to leave after 12 years. And throughout those 12 years, the government has tried to block, this is important, tried to block the ZEP holders, the Zimbabweans, attempts to apply for permanent residency in the country for the past 12, 13 years.
Okay, but when you say they've tried to block, what does the government stand to gain from this action? The South African government does not stand to gain anything. In fact, if anything, they stand to lose a lot by their decision. They stand to lose, skilled Zimbabweans who are on the ZEP, who are part of the economic fabric of this country, the real estate of the country. They stand to lose a lot. But notwithstanding the fact that they stand to lose a lot, and they've seen the evidence, we've showed it to them as part of the proceedings, that they stand to lose a lot from a situation where there's a mass exodus of Zimbabweans. But they've done it anyway. And the reason why I believe they've done it is because they're appealing to the populists who have shown recently, I think as recently as last year, that they will vote for smaller parties that want Zimbabweans out. So the ANC is under pressure, and they said, look, we don't care if we'd rather stay in power than protect the Zimbabweans in the country.